When I returned to Amara's compound, everything fell apart before I could even speak. The moment Amara saw me standing at the gate, her body froze. For one terrifying second, she simply stared at me. Then suddenly, her knees gave out beneath her. She collapsed onto the ground, crying so violently it frightened me. The sound that came out of her did not even sound human. It sounded like years of pain breaking open at once. Uchenna. My name barely escaped her mouth before sobs swallowed the rest, immediately. Her mother rushed out from inside the house. Then her father. The moment he saw Amara on the ground crying and saw me standing at the entrance, something inside him snapped. "You!" He charged toward me so aggressively I barely had time to react. Her mother screamed. Amara kept crying uncontrollably on the floor. And before I could say a single word, her father grabbed my shirt violently. "You animal!" His voice shook the entire compound. "You finally came back after destroying my daughter's life." His fist tightened instantly, like he wanted to tear me apart with his bare hands. "You left her to suffer!" He shoved me backward hard. "You let her lose her child!" I did not defend myself, because honestly, every word he said was true. Amara's mother cried loudly while trying to hold him back. Amara remained collapsed on the ground, trembling from emotional pain. And standing there watching her cry like that, I realized something horrifying. The damage I caused was even worse than I imagined. Her father tried lunging toward me again, this time even more violently. "If you ever come near this family again." I stepped backward immediately, not out of fear for myself, but because I could see the entire situation collapsing into chaos. And still, I had not even spoken the truth yet. So eventually, I left, but the sound of Amara crying followed me long after I walked away from the compound that night. I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Amara collapsing onto the ground again. I heard her crying. I heard her father shouting. And for the first time since taking Kamsi, I realized something painful. The truth could not be revealed carelessly anymore. Not after everything she had suffered. So the next morning, I went looking for Elder Okeke, popularly known in the village as Ichi. One of the most respected elderly men in the village, a longtime friend of Amara's family. When I finally found him sitting outside his house beneath an old mango tree, I could barely look him in the eyes, because for the first time in my life, I had to say everything out loud. I told him everything. How I abandoned Amara. How fear turned me into a coward. How I secretly returned to the compound over and over again. How I watched my son through the window. How I followed Amara that night to the roadside bus stop, and finally, how I picked Kamsi up after she walked away. Ichi sat silently for a very long time after hearing everything. The disappointment inside his eyes nearly crushed me alive. Then quietly, he asked one question. "Is the child alive?" I nodded immediately. Yes. Ichi closed his eyes slowly, almost like the weight of the truth exhausted him. "And the child is with you?" "Yes." Another long silence followed. Then finally, he looked directly at me. "What you did to that girl," he said quietly, "may follow you for the rest of your life." I lowered my head immediately, because I knew he was right. But he continued, "The truth still needs to come out." So later that day, he agreed to follow me back to Amara's compound. The second time I arrived, the atmosphere felt even heavier than before. Amara sat quietly outside beside her mother. Her eyes looked swollen from crying. The moment her father saw me again, rage immediately returned to his face. His body became tense instantly, like he wanted to charge toward me again. But then, he saw Ichi standing beside me, and slowly, he stopped himself, not because the anger disappeared, but because respect for the old man restrained him. Still, the hatred inside his eyes remained. Nobody invited us to sit, nobody greeted me. The silence itself felt hostile. Then finally, Ichi spoke. Let him talk. Amara laughed bitterly through tears. Talk. Her voice trembled violently. What exactly does he still have left to say? Nobody answered. Even Ichi remained silent, because honestly, there were no easy words left anymore. My throat felt dry, but I forced myself to speak anyway. I came to tell you the truth. Amara's father looked away angrily. Amara stared directly into my eyes. And somehow, that hurt more, because there was no love left there anymore. Only pain, pure pain. You disappeared when I needed you most. She whispered. Tears immediately filled her eyes again. You left me alone while people mocked me. Her breathing became uneven. You left me when I was carrying your child. Another painful silence. And because of you, her voice cracked violently. I lost my son. Those words nearly broke me where I stood, because she still believed Kamsi was gone forever. And suddenly, the full weight of her suffering crashed into me all over again. I know. I whispered weakly. No. Amara snapped immediately. You don't know anything about what I suffered. Her mother began crying softly again beside her. Amara pointed toward me with trembling hands. Every single night I hear him crying inside my head. My chest tightened painfully. I abandoned my own child because I had nothing left. Tears rolled endlessly down her face now. And when I went back for him, her voice disappeared completely. He was gone. Silence swallowed the compound. Then finally, I said the words that changed everything. I know where Kamsi is. The entire compound froze. Amara stared at me blankly, almost like her mind refused to understand what she just heard. Then slowly, fear entered her face. What did you say? My hands trembled beside me. I know where he is. Amara shook her head immediately. No. Tears filled her eyes again. No. Don't do this to me. I'm not lying. You're lying. You're lying. She screamed. This sound echoed across the compound walls. You disappeared all this time. And now suddenly, you know where my child is. I could barely breathe anymore myself, because I knew the next truth would either save her or destroy what little remained inside her. I took him. Real silence followed that. The kind of silence that feels dangerous. Amara's face lost all color. Her mother grabbed her chest. Even her father looked stunned. You? Amara whispered weakly. Her lips trembled uncontrollably now. You took Kamsi. I nodded slowly. That night, I followed you. Amara staggered backwards slightly. I saw you at the bus stop. Her breathing became uneven again. I watched you leave him there. Tears rolled down my face. And after you walked away, I picked him up. Amara covered her mouth in horror. No. Her voice sounded smaller now, almost broken. No, no. I swear to you, he's alive. I said quickly. He's alive, Amara. Suddenly, Amara broke down completely again. Years of grief exploded out of her all at once. My baby. Her mother held her tightly while crying too. My baby is alive. Yes. She looked at me desperately through tears. Where is he? Fear entered me again. Not a fear of violence anymore. Fear of what came next. He's with me. The entire compound became tense again instantly. With you, Amara whispered. I nodded slowly. I couldn't leave her there. Her father stood up immediately again in rage. You watched this girl suffer while keeping her child hidden from her. His voice thundered across the compound.
But Ichi raised his hand firmly. Let him finish. Amara sat there crying uncontrollably while staring at me like she no longer knew whether to hate me or beg me for answers. Why? She whispered weakly. Why didn't you come back? That question destroyed me more than all the shouting, because there was no answer good enough. I was ashamed, I admitted. I thought if I became stable first, if I could take care of him properly, maybe one day I could return and tell you everything. Amara shook her head slowly while crying. You let me mourn my child. Every word sounded like punishment. I know. You let me die every day. And honestly, she was right for a long moment. Nobody spoke again. Only crying filled the compound. Then quietly, Amara asked the question that mattered most. Is he okay? I nodded immediately. Yes. Is he healthy? Yes. And her voice trembled again. Can I see him? The moment those words left her mouth, something changed inside the compound. Not forgiveness, not peace, but hope, small, fragile, painful, but real. Within the hour, we left the village together. The journey felt painfully quiet. Amara sat beside the window, the entire time, silent, sometimes wiping tears quietly when she thought nobody noticed. Her mother sat beside her, holding her hand tightly. Her father barely looked at me, and honestly, I understood why. Eventually, we arrived in the small town where I had been living. I led them through a narrow street until we stopped in front of a small cream-colored building with rusted railings. My room is upstairs, I said quietly. Nobody answered. My hands trembled slightly as we climbed the staircase. Then finally, I opened the door slowly.
What happened next? And as Uchenna slowly pushed the door open, everything that had been hidden for so long was finally about to face the light. What waited beyond that door would change all of their lives forever. Follow me as I unfold the rest of the story to you. Inside the small room, Kamsi sat on a mat near the bed beside Mama Bisi, the elderly woman who watched him whenever Uchenna went to work. He was playing quietly with a small plastic toy car, tiny, peaceful, completely unaware that his entire life was about to change. The moment Amara saw him, the world around her disappeared. Her breathing stopped. One trembling hand covered her mouth instantly. And then she broke. A deep, painful sob escaped her chest. Kamsi looked up immediately. Confused, his small eyes moved from face to face uncertainly. Then finally, they stopped on Amara. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Amara looked like she could barely breathe anymore. My baby. Her voice collapsed completely. Tears poured uncontrollably down her face now. My baby. Slowly, she stepped forward. But halfway across the room, her legs weakened again. Her mother quickly held her arm before she could fall. Mama Bisi looked completely confused. Uchenna, she whispered nervously. What is happening? Uchenna could barely answer. That's his mother. The elderly woman covered her chest in shock immediately. Kamsi still stared quietly at Amara, too young to fully understand, but old enough to feel emotion, old enough to sense pain. Amara slowly knelt in front of him, trembling violently. Her hands shook so badly she could barely lift them. And when she finally touched his face, she completely broke down. Years of grief exploded out of her all over again. She pulled him gently into her arms and cried like someone whose soul had finally found something it thought was gone forever. Kamsi looked frightened, at first confused by the crying. But then slowly, something changed. He relaxed against her chest, tiny fingers grabbing softly onto her clothes. And the moment Amara felt him hold on to her, she cried even harder, "My son." For a long time, nobody in the room spoke. The small apartment felt heavy with emotion as Amara held Kamsi tightly against her chest, crying with the kind of pain that only a mother could understand. Kamsi remained quietly in her arms, confused at first by the tears, the trembling, and the unfamiliar faces surrounding him. But slowly, he relaxed against her warmth, resting his tiny head against her shoulder, as though some part of him recognized her. Amara could barely stop kissing his face, his forehead, his cheeks, his tiny hands. Every touch felt like proof that he was truly alive, that she was not dreaming. Her mother stood nearby, weeping silently, while Ichi remained still near the doorway, allowing the moment to unfold naturally. Even Amara's father, whose anger had burned fiercely for so long, could no longer hide the emotion in his eyes. Because after everything, Kamsi was finally home. Uchenna stood quietly in one corner of the room, watching everything unfold. And for the first time in a very long while, he said nothing. There was nothing left to defend, nothing left to explain. The truth had already exposed every mistake he made. All that remained now were consequences. After some time, Amara finally looked up at him. Her eyes were still filled with pain, still filled with unanswered questions. But something inside them had changed slightly, not forgiveness, not yet, but the unbearable uncertainty that had haunted her for so long was finally gone. Her son was alive. That truth alone had changed everything, slowly. She stood up while still carrying Kamsi carefully against her chest. Then quietly, she spoke. "You should have told me." Uchenna lowered his head immediately, because there was no excuse powerful enough to answer that pain. "I know," he replied softly. Tears filled Amara's eyes again. "You let me suffer all this time, believing my child was dead." The guilt on Uchenna's face became impossible to hide. "I was ashamed," he admitted. "Every day I wanted to return, but the longer I waited, the harder it became." Silence followed again. Then Ichi finally stepped forward. "What has been broken here will not heal in one day," the old man said calmly. "Some wounds take time." Nobody argued with him, because everybody in that room knew he was right. The pain between Amara and Uchenna ran too deep to disappear overnight. But despite everything, something important had changed. For the first time since that terrible night at the roadside bus stop, hope existed again. Real hope, not the kind built from promises, the kind built from truth. As evening slowly approached, Mama Bisi prepared warm food, while Amara remained seated beside the bed, holding Kamsi close, almost afraid to let him go again. Sometimes she cried quietly, while staring at him. Sometimes she smiled through tears whenever he looked back at her. And every single time, Kamsi reached for her. Her heart broke and healed at the same time. Uchenna watched from a distance silently, not trying to interrupt,
not trying to force forgiveness, because finally, he understood something important.
Later that night, before everyone prepared to leave, Amara's father finally walked toward Uchenna. For a second, the tension returned immediately, but the older man simply looked at him quietly. Then he spoke. "You failed, my daughter." Uchenna lowered his eyes immediately. "But if you truly want to become a better man," the father continued, "then start by never running away again." The words landed heavily between them, because both men understood what they meant. This was not forgiveness, it was responsibility. And responsibility would last far longer than apologies. Outside, the evening wind moved softly through the streets, while the fading sunlight painted the town in warm orange shadows. Inside the small room, Amara sat holding Kamsi peacefully against her chest, while he slowly drifted asleep in her arms. The same arms that once believed they had lost him forever. And for the first time in a very long while, the sound inside her heart was no longer grief. It was peace, small, fragile, still healing, but finally, peace. And maybe that was the lesson hidden inside their story. Love is not proven by promises. It is proven by presence, by honesty, by sacrifice, and by staying. Especially when life becomes difficult. Because anybody can speak beautifully when life is easy. But true character reveals itself when responsibility arrives. And sometimes, the people we hurt the most are the ones who once trusted us completely.